So here is what is needed to make your Agamograph. First off, you need to have two pieces of paper that are the same size. First one, you are going to split it in half. So we're splitting in half hamburger style. And you're going to draw two different pictures on each half. Now let's take a second to talk about mine, because I focused on two main elements of art for this. I have shape and color. So for shape, we see on this half, all of my shapes are made with straight lines. This means that they are all geometric shapes. On this half, you see all of my shapes are made with curved lines, and they're more random. These are organic shapes. So a great way to remember them, organic should remind you of things that are in nature, like organic things. They tend to be more curved and wavy. Geometric should remind you of the word geometry, which is a math class. These shapes usually have straight edges and angles, and we see them commonly defined by things in math class. So we get things like squares, triangles, diamonds, pentagons, hexagons. Those would all be geometric shapes. Now there are two shapes that are both geometric and organic. Those are circles and ovals. Those technically could fall into either. I really didn't use them. We see them kind of over here, but not quite. The other thing I did was I split them up by color. So on one half we have warm colors, other half we have cool colors. So warm colors should be things that remind you of warm things. Think like fire, sunrises, and sunsets. So we got yellow, reds, oranges, and pinks. Cool colors should remind you of cool things. So think flowing water outside of nature. So we got blues, greens, and purples for those. So I made sure that both my images filled the entire half. I colored them in completely. If you do something smaller, you want to make sure you give it two different background colors. So we're going to take these two images and split them apart. So that's your drawing side. So for your project, you can choose to do an organic and geometric shapes drawing like I did, or you can do any sort of image you want to do. I just recommend that they be opposite somehow. So make sure that if you choose one color palette for one side, you choose the opposite types of colors for the other side. So that way they're really different than each other. But they can be any type of art as long as you have two different images that are one half of the piece of paper. All right, let's talk about our frame that we're going to put it on. So this is the exact same size paper. I'm just using printer paper for this. Now you notice I've already folded mine. Let's talk about how to get these folds. There are going to be 8 folds total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are all on the paper in the hamburger style going from there. So here's how I get them nice and even. First off, I'm going to fold my paper in half, hamburger style. Give it a nice crease. So there's one fold in half. I'll fold in half again, nice crease, 2 folds in half, and then one more time. Be careful with these because these edges like to move around, so I like to hold this edge as I fold this over and get one more 3 times I folded in half. So when you open that up, that should get you 8 pieces total. Okay, now we need to turn this into an accordion fold. Accordion just means it goes zigzag, up, down, up, down, up, down. So you're going to take your paper and focus. So if this one goes that way, next one needs to go backwards, then forwards, and then backwards. Forwards, backwards, forwards. There we go. So we see how that made that zigzag sort of style an accordion fold. All right. Now that we have our accordion fold, I think it's a really great idea to label this. It's going to help you out later because you're going to be cutting apart these images and gluing it onto here. So I recommend going A, B, A, B. So we go A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. Perfect. Now, we're going to set this aside. This is what we're going to be gluing our pictures onto. So for this next stage, you are going to need your picture, some scissors, and some glue of some sort. You can do liquid Elmer's glue like this. If you have other types of glue, that could work great. Glue stick could work, anything like that. Let's just use this liquid glue. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to split this in half. We're gonna have My warm colors be A, cool colors be B. So when I created my original shape, I folded it to make life easy. So I already know where that half is, and I need to cut this apart. Now you gotta really take your time and cut exactly on the fold. I'm gonna go the back side because I can see it really crisp back here. Take your time. You want your cuts to be as straight as possible and exactly on the folds. All right, so I'm gonna put my cool colored ones off to the side. Let's focus just on this one. So this is gonna be A. We notice there are 4 A sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to split this piece into 4 long strips. Okay, so the first thing we wanna do is fold in half. Now you really wanna line up those corners because you gotta have straight edges for this and really good clean lines. So make sure you take your time with that. So we're folding in half, open up, and we're gonna cut this. I've found it's easiest to cut here and then fold the other pieces. That's gonna give you a more exact fold, getting that half a whole lot nicer. Again, take your time right on the fold. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing again. Fold in half. Ugh, there we go. Line everything up, top and bottom. I like to hold in the center, I slide out, then I go up and down. And we'll cut this one. Okay, same thing on this one. Fold in half. Ugh. Line it up. Line it up. Crease. And cut. All right. So at this point, I like to take a second and rearrange because, oops, those don't line up anymore. All right, which way does it go? Is it this way? Nope. Is it... Those two fit. That one, there we go. So take a second and reline your image back up. All right, so now we're gonna need our template, our frame that we put this on. We're gonna need our glue. So we're gonna glue these onto our frame one at a time, only in the A slots, making sure that we stay within the sections exactly. If you choose to use liquid glue, make sure you don't overdo it. I recommend just a couple dots in the corners, a couple dots going down. Use a dot, not a lot. If you want, you could take your finger and kind of spread them out a little bit so it glues a little nicer. It is your call with that. If you're using glue stick, make sure you get into those corners really nice. Okay, now flip it over. Make sure it still lines up. Nope, goes that way. Okay, and put it on the first A. Take your time, line it up with those corners, line it up with the fold. There we go. And then press it down nice and hard so it sticks. Okay, now we just do this on the A sections for each one. Make sure you line them up, but then go to the A. So you're skipping B. So it's gonna go every other. That is gonna be key. Do not put these touching each other. They gotta go every other. Press it down hard. Next one. Okay, make sure it still lines up with the design, but go to A. Line it up, press it down, nice and solid. And we got one more. Okay. Make sure, oops, it's upside down. That's why it's always smart to check. Good. Then put it in your last section. Line it up, press it down. All right, we are going to follow that same process with our other one, but going into B. So I'll speed through this since it's the exact same thing again. Make sure that you line everything up, your cut's nice and neat, and you glue and press it down really nicely. So now that I've gotten all of them on there, I want to make sure they're pressed down really good. If you're using liquid glue like I did, I recommend you wait a few minutes before you try to fold this back up. If you use something more like a glue stick, you could go straight into it. At this point, when it's all glued down, you can really see places where you didn't quite cut straight because you can see the other paper through it. That's okay, as long as it's really close. Once it's all dry, you just want to get that accordion fold back. So now that you have more pieces and glue, it might be a little bit tricky getting it to squeeze back into the right shape. So give it a little muscle, help it find the right spot, squeeze those folds to get it back to where it should be. There we go. All right, so let's show you how this turned out. We see the whole thing together, but when you turn one direction, you see one image. And when you turn the other direction, you see the other image. How cool is that? So you can create two pieces of art together. This could be really interesting if you do much more complex images. We just wanted to start off with something a little bit simpler. I challenge you to do something a little bit more intense for your example.